It seems Hyrule is in need of us once again. Hey yo Hylians, my name is Tycholra and you are watching Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Right off the bat, we got a ton of enemies to take care of, so what do you say we do that? This game is one of my personal favorites. I get a huge kick out of this game and I think it's such a blast to play, and so I'm really excited to be sharing this one with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, there's going to be a ton of enemies. This game is all about just killing things, you know? There's going to be a lot of monsters all the time, and you just kind of have to, you know, take care of them as you go. We're going to get interrupted here in a second by a little fairy here that's going to pop on into Link. Right off the bat, you'll notice there's a lot of dialogue that's going to be happening at the bottom left corner of the screen. I will personally not be reading that, as it's kind of hard to do that and focusing on the battle at the same time. I'm obviously going to miss a whole lot of stuff. If you want to read that, that is of course available to you. You can always just, you know, read that yourself and look down there. But I, again, will not be reading it. But yeah, so what do you say we kind of go over some general basics? I'm gonna say kinda a lot. I think it's kinda how this is gonna go. A lot of general basics. Obviously you have your 2 attack buttons, which are your main attack, and then your heavy attack. And there's some tutorials that I'm going to be ignoring because that's something that I'll be going over on my own time. When we get there, I'll go over that. You have your heavy attack and your standard attack. After several standard attacks, you can perform several combos, which will, you know, end up doing different things depending on how far you are in your standard attack combo string. It's going to be telling us to head over to the north section. You can look at the map in the top right corner. It's going to tell us to head north into this keep right up here. So what do you say we do that? This is the introduction of locking onto targets. This is what is known as a general. So generals are more powerful characters. You can see he has his own designated health bar in the corner there. They're a lot more powerful, and you know, most of the time we took him out. We took him down to about half health when that triggered the cutscene. But He's gonna do a thing. We'll say that went much faster than I was expecting. I probably should have waited a little bit, but... How noble. Enjoy your shared graves. Kind of missed some dialogue there, but... oh no! You be? And now it's going to tell us about something that I already kind of saw. He's going to retreat here in just a sec, or he's not. Basically what that tutorial was is captains and generals, like we just saw, they have these special meters that will sometimes appear after they do certain attacks. If you attack them while this meter is active, it will do what is called a weak point smash. Which is a very powerful attack. It's a special cutscene unique for every character. It's in general just a very powerful attack that it's going to end up doing a lot of damage. So you want to get those off whenever you possibly can. Which is actually, that's why we were able to defeat him so quickly, is because I was able to pull off that weak point smash really early on. But... like I said, not like I said, there are other enemies that will have weak point gauges that will appear. For example, this Lizalfos here, which is a captain. He's not quite a general. And I believe, one thing I should also mention is I believe these are the correct terms for the captains and generals, although I might be a little wrong about that. But I think that's what it is. It's captains and generals. And just trust me, captains can also have weak point gauges after certain attacks. And there's a little bit more nuance to them that we'll be going over in a little bit. But right now, the mine entrance has just opened up, and we can't really do much of anything else until we head on in here and take the treasure inside. You got some bombs. So this is the first instance of items, as is expected in a Zelda-like game. We will be getting a number of items across the series, across our adventure here. First off, we have bombs, which are just used to destroy boulders and other bombable objects, which we'll be seeing more of later on. So, for example, just pop that boulder open and we get a special treasure chest, which just has a bunch of money in it. So, this is actually the introduction of a different mechanic right here, the character switching, which leads me to something else. This is, what I'm playing right now is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which is the Switch version of the game. There are 3 different versions of Hyrule Warriors, and you can play any one of them that you want, and you will be able to follow along for the most part. There are a couple of differences between all 3 versions, which is the Wii U version, which is the original Hyrule Warriors. Then there's the 3DS version, Hyrule Warriors Legends, and the Switch version, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Again, I will be going over the differences between all 3 versions, and you can follow along for the most part. But right off the bat, we are introduced to one of the major differences between the versions. The switching mechanic was introduced in Hyrule Warriors Legends, the 3DS version. It is not in the 3DS version, or it is not in the Wii U version of the game. This task will be slightly different. Instead of switching to Zelda here, there's some boulders in front of that wall that you may have noticed that you end up bombing, and then the keep will open. So the whole switching to Zelda thing is a little bit different. And this kind of brings me to an interesting thing. If you're wondering which version you should buy, say you have multiple systems and you are capable of getting which version, my recommended order in which you should get them, if at all possible, is the obviously Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on the Switch, Hyrule Warriors Legends, and then Hyrule Warriors, the original version on the Wii U. The thing is, Hyrule Warriors Legends is obviously, being on the 3DS, is not as graphically capable as the Wii U version and the Switch version. Is not as graphically capable, but I think what you sacrifice in terms of graphics for the 3DS version, you gain in terms of content. There's a lot, almost everything that's going to be in this version is in the 3DS version as well. A lot of those, there was very little added for the Definitive Edition. So everything that's in the 3DS version is, there's a lot more in the 3DS version than there is here. Which I hope that makes sense. We'll be, again, going over a lot of the major differences between versions in the future as we come across them. But that's just kind of something that I feel like is worth mentioning. Oh boy! There's a lot to go over at the beginning, so I hope you just kind of bear with me. This is a keep. These are going to be kind of... oh, shut up. There's going to be, this is one of the major mechanics of this game. When you capture keeps, it'll basically just continually spawn troops, as well as stop enemy troops from advancing, for the most part. This is a very useful mechanic, so you want to kind of capture keeps when you're in them and when you can, because it, obviously there's a lot of uses to doing something like that. Over here, we have, you'll notice the spider web in the screen. That means that this is on screen, the gold Skulltula. There is one gold Skulltula in every mission of the game that will appear once you get 1,000 KOs, so, like we have. And we'll be going over kind of what those things mean later when we get to them. But basically, just when you see a Skulltula, you want to go over and kill it as fast as you can. So, just kind of something to keep in mind. Okay, so, I think, for now, that's every major thing that we need to go over. I'll be going over outposts and things later, so yeah. That's every major thing. So as right now, our main objective is to escort Link and Zelda to the glowing keep on the bottom right corner of the map. So I will right now, I think it is a good time to go over kind of the general structure of how this Let's Play is going to go. This game is massive. There is a lot of optional things in this game that are required, of course, for 100%, but I mean, they're not a part of the main story. I will be going over everything that I can. However, like I said, this game is huge, and there's no possible way that I'd believably be able to go over everything in this game in a single Let's Play series without, like, you know, hours upon hours upon hours of footage, to the point that I haven't even 100%ed this game on my own free time. There's just that much to do. So, how this series will work is, like I said, I will be going over everything that I possibly can, and we'll go over, you know, what there is when we get there. But one mission is essentially going to be one episode. When, excuse me, when, for every episode, like I said, one mission, as well as there are a lot of different playable characters in this game, and different weapons that all do different things. With every episode, I will be going over one character in kind of a sort of special weapon of the day kind of thing. And we'll do that before each mission, and then, you know, we'll progress from there. And then once we're out of weapons and things, then we'll, you know, stop doing the weapon of the day stuff. But that's the general thing. I will be dedicating special episodes for a lot of the side content, and we'll just kind of be seeing a lot of that stuff when we get there. So, just keep that in mind. That's the general format of how all this is going to work. So yeah. that is kind of everything major that I need to go over. We're here at the goal where Link and Zelda needed to be. So let's head on in with these two. One thing that I should mention, there's going to be a lot of different pickups and things. Those magic jars that I've been picking up that I haven't really talked about. Those are individual pickups that do not carry over from character to character. Up until this point, if you really care about stuff like that, I would recommend you don't pick up things like that with Zelda. Don't worry, materials and weapons and things will stick around with Zelda, but she has left the battle for good, so you will not be able to access any of the things that you picked up. Those things do reset in between missions, though, so it's not like it's that big of a deal, and they're pretty regular pickups, so you don't need to worry too much about not having them. But right now, we have met the Great Fairy, which if you've been following the story, which I haven't really been talking about, but if you've been following, we need the Great Fairy to take down a lot of the enemies in the north. So, I do recommend you follow the story. It is a lot of fun, and it's kind of goofy. A lot of times, it is really just a spin-off game, a goofy story to kind of push along the action and basically give you reason to go across the map and do different things. But again, it's a fun story, so I do urge you to follow along if you feel so inclined. It's goofy, it's fun, but yeah. So with that has pretty much cleared out a lot of the major enemies. This is going to introduce something random, but there's something that is going to happen in just a second that's going to kind of interrupt us, so I'm going to refrain from talking about things for a moment. Here he comes! Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you the fire-breathing King Dodongo. This is what is known as a giant boss. They are very powerful enemies that usually only appear, they don't appear incredibly frequently. He's gonna plow through this door here in a second, and apparently fly. Giant bosses are not like your traditional generals or captains. Your attacks do not do a whole lot of damage, if they do any damage at all. We'll be seeing a lot more giant bosses throughout. They all have certain item weaknesses. So he's gonna breathe fire here in a second, and he's not going to do it. Okay, well, I'll ignore him for now then, because there is actually a couple things that I wanted to take care of. Also, in every mission, there is two major items that you're going to want to pick up, aside from the Gold Skulltula. There is a heart piece and heart container, which are used to improve your character's abilities. The heart piece will always be inside of a keep, such as this one right here. By grabbing this, we can go ahead and pick up our heart piece. And the heart container will always be underneath a boulder that is placed throughout the map. They are not; these are not randomly generated. So if you know what to look for, then you know where to find them. There is our heart container right there. And in case you are wondering, you can skip those chest opening cutscenes because they are a little long sometimes and they are very repetitive. So if you're interested, you can always skip over those cutscenes. Looks like King Dodongo is about to take the central keep there, but that is not important to us at the moment, because we are going to go over and we're gonna fight him. It looks like he did take the keep. If you end up losing keeps like I just did, it's not that big of a deal. Keeps that you have lost will always have about half of their health, as opposed to respawning with full health. So it's not like you're losing a whole lot, and so just make sure if you can, go ahead and grab them. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal to go without it. If you would like to attack me, there you go. So that is King Dodongo's main attack. Once he uses that, then you can throw bombs in his mouth, and that will spawn his weak point gauge. Giant bosses also have weak point gauges. that, you know, they of course go down a lot slower than the weak point gauges of the generals and the captains, but once you do, oh boy, is it worth it with how much damage that you can do with them. Also, while they are knocked down like that, is the only real time that you can get decent damage on them. Their defense is lower in pretty high. Their defense is lower quite a bit when you lower their when they're stunned like this. As you can see, we're actually causing some pretty significant damage to it. But with the end of King Dodongo, that is it. That's the end of this mission. We picked up everything that we needed to do to grab. We went over some pretty major mechanics and everything like that. So what do you say we just kind of sit back and enjoy the story here? We can't locate Princess Zelda. I pray she's safe. I must ask for your help in finding her. I trust you are willing? Link, be a hero worthy of wearing this tunic.
The Triforce is the harmonious union of power, wisdom, and courage. It has been the object of countless battles between the forces of light and darkness. Each time the Triforce fell into the clutches of evil, Hyrule was plunged into misery. But in every age, a hero, clad in green, would restore peace to the land. During one of these dark times, the legendary hero split the spirit of evil into 4 fragments, sealing each away to finally break the cycle of destruction. 3 of the fragments were scattered across time and space. The final fragment was sealed in a sacred temple built upon holy ground, imprisoned by the blade of evil's bane.
And that's it. After every mission, you get a sort of battle record thing where you earn money depending on how well you did. It counts clear time, the amount of KOs you did. You don't have to worry about taking damage or anything like that. That's not calculated into it. And then, yeah, you get a little bonus depending on that. But with that, I think we are going to end things off right there. We got some materials and we'll go over all of this. Oh, that's right. I forgot about this. So this is what happens when you defeat Gold Skulltulas. They grant you these illustration pieces, one at a time. If you can fill out an illustration panel, then you get a special reward at the end. So we'll go over that, of course, another time once we get there. But, like I said, with that, we're going to end things off right there. We've unlocked a whole bunch of optional modes and things, as well as a few things that we'll go over in a minute. And an achievement and stuff like that. Again, we'll go over all of that later, next episode. That's stuff for the next episode. But I'll see you guys again real soon. And until then, I bid you all a hearty farewell. Bye-bye.